Got some more from Zoe. It's KZ from Cape Town. I just want to have a chat about clones. Now, recently in South Africa, they started a Facebook group which is called the No Clone Zone. Okay, and I was just thinking about it. There's a lot of people, a lot of reviewers, a lot of vendors which jumped on the bandwagon of this No Clone Zone. And I mean, everyone makes up their own decision. I've got no problem with that. But the question is, to clone or not to clone? Are you going to support clone products? Are you going to buy clone products? Are you going to frown on somebody who owns a clone product? All these things one must take into account and think about it carefully. I don't personally like the word clone, because as a biology teacher I teach cloning to the kids, and I know cloning means to make an exact replica of something. And I mean, in the clones which I have tested, there's always been differences. So I would rather call it a pseudo than I would refer to it as a clone. Now, for me, it's not a simple case as just saying yes or no. I mean, if you ask somebody the question, is it right to kill someone? Immediately they're going to say no. But what if you create a few scenarios for this person? Scenarios like, what if your life is in danger? What if you are fine but your family's life is in danger? What if somebody else's life is in danger? What if you're a soldier and it is required of you to defend and then kill somebody? What if your religion demands it? So there's quite a few scenarios which you can come up with where you might rethink your initial answer. Now, when we talk about clones, we can follow the same train of thought. Say, for instance, somebody cannot afford an authentic. Now, that is the most common reason which I have heard when I ask somebody why did they buy a clone. They just cannot afford it. And because they cannot afford it, they would not have in any case bought that authentic from the company, simply because it's too expensive. And most of the times it is too hard to come by, because you have to join certain groups and you have to be wakey to actually get on a list, because there's limited amount of these things released. But anywho, be that as it may, that guy just cannot afford it. His budget does not allow it, and therefore goes for clones. Most of these high-end gear, the people are post them so much everywhere, so they create a type of hype which is very hard to ignore, and you often want to get a taste of that hype, and clones gives you an route to do that. Now, because in the past I have bought atomizers which cost a lot of money, which at the end of the day did not perform as what I really wanted them to, which basically means I was disappointed in them. Paid a lot of money, but I was disappointed in them. And for that reason, when I go buy a clone, it is to use it as a benchmark so that I do not make that mistake again. Because although I can afford certain atomizers in a certain price range, like the Hadley for instance, or the Citadel for instance, or even the Jenna, if the Jenna is going to come out, I can afford that to buy that atomizer. But what I cannot afford is to waste the money. When I pay that kind of money, I actually want something decent. So in any case, so I use that as a benchmark. Currently, of all the RDAs and all the RTAs I have, atomizers I have, I've got one clone, and I've got 42 atomizers. Something else what you must think of is, what if a person's country doesn't allow you to actually bring in certain items, or your tax import duties is just too high on those items because they are way more expensive? Then the guy has to opt for the clone. Are you also going to frown on him just because he's got that clone? The last case scenario, but that is one which you don't find often. It's very rare, and that's, what if the clone is better than the authentic? Now, we all know the quality of gear is getting better and better by the year, absolutely, and it can happen. It can happen where a clone is actually better than the authentic, for sure. And then there's also the situation about hardware which is brought out, which is called a clone but is not really a clone, but it's based off a authentic. Take for instance the Hadley 24mm. I know Cyclone never made a 24mm Hadley. I even bought it because I wanted to try it. And it wasn't as good as the 22, as my authentic 22. And not only one, 3. But in any case, and I think the K-Fun 5 Mini RTA is another example of that. There's a K-Fun RTA, but then they brought out a smaller version. Not the original company. But I mean, the Chinese company saw that this was a very popular item and capitalized on it by changing the dimensions. So what about that situation? Are you also going to frown on that? I'm just trying to make sure that you rethink all the situations, and then after that, make up your own mind. Similar to me starting vaping. I mean, as a biology teacher, I cannot afford to do something which goes against what I teach the kids. So I had to do my research. It took me 3 years to get the knowledge to a certain point where I could with confidence say that vaping is better than smoking. So yeah, and that's all I expect from anything. So yeah, get the knowledge and make up your own mind. And once you made up your own mind, remember, it is your mind. And the person opposite you, he's got the right to do exactly the same thing. Okay, now I'm referring to hardware. The thing is, where I draw the line with clones, where I'm absolutely, totally against it, is when you talk about batteries, because then safety is peril. Okay, safety is very important. And the other thing is juice. I'm totally against the cloning of juice, because here you've got a guy who's creating something and he's doing well, company's booming, he's got his own label and is out there. Now some other nuthead comes along, likes the juice, makes exact same copy of it, and then copies the label of that company and then distributes it just because that company is doing well. So basically he's riding on the back of that company. Now that obviously is totally wrong in my books. So cloning juice and cloning batteries, stay away from that. Now, as I said, I'm not an avid supporter of cloning, but if the occasional clone comes along and the situation is there, I will get that clone and I will actually review that clone. Now the only problem which I do have with cloning is I don't worry about the company that released the expensive authentic, because I in any case would not have supported them. My problem is buying that clone, you're actually funding that Chinese company. So you're making that company stronger, which means it can diversify. It can bring out a larger variety and even more clones even of better quality. So that is the issue which I have when buying a clone. Now what happened to my son one day, when he came out of the shopping center, somebody reversed into the bakkie, that's our vehicle, and damaged the light. Now because it's something small, if I had to claim it by the insurance, I would have lost a lot of benefits. It would have actually cost me a lot more at the end of the day than buying an authentic. So I phoned around and I got a replacement light which looks exactly the same, but it's just not from the car company. So are you going to judge me based on that as well? And remember, next time, whenever you frown or look down on anyone who talks about cloning, remember, as I said, it's that person's right to do whatever it is. If there's this product on the market, go for it. But if you decide to frown on that guy, just bear in mind that next time when you listen to an MP3 song, next time when you stream an HD movie, there's also creators, there's also guys that should actually get royalties. So are you going to stop there? If you walk past a guy with a pair of Bay-Bands on instead of Ray-Bans, are you going to smack the glasses off his head as well? That's why I say your opinion is your opinion and your decision is your decision. As I said, I am not a big supporter of clones, definitely not. But the point is, am I going to hold it against somebody? Am I going to look down on a vendor who does not commit to a certain group? Because I mean, you get the small vendors. For the large vendors, it's fine. Those guys bring in a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of cash in hand, got a huge budget to work with. But what about these small guys? These small guys know there's a... Take for instance the Skyline. Skyline is a very expensive RTA, and it's a very good RTA. But now certain vendors actually stocked the clone version of the Skyline, and they sold a lot. The same with the Billet Box, they sold a lot. So that kept that little vendor going. It's a form of income, because that little guy cannot necessarily compete against the huge guys. what are you going to do? Are you going to frown on that guy as well, just because he didn't join the group? Will I frown on somebody that only buys clones? No. Do I have the right to do that? No. I can give him my opinion, but I cannot enforce my opinion. Definitely not. It doesn't work that way. So although the idea is very good and moral, you just better make sure that everything regarding your life is moral as well. Maybe you're one of those guys using your cell phone while you're driving. You know it's against the law. Maybe you're one of those guys who jump a robot when it's 2 o'clock in the morning when there's no traffic. You know it is wrong. So you better make sure that you don't do one of those things. Because, I mean, if there's one thing I don't like, it's a hypocrite. Because it's no point taking a moral stand in one thing when you've got immoral doings in other aspects of your life. You understand? So yeah, I know it's a very difficult topic. I know it's a hard topic for most people. It's a controversial topic. As I said, I know I'm going to get a huge... Oh, my dog just farted. Oh, and a Labrador's fart. Any omnivorous fart is incredibly... Yoy. So in any case, holy crap sack. So that is my take on cloning. So that is my take on cloning. As I said, I do not condone the cloning of certain things, but the point is I have to be realistic about everything. I have to take a lot of factors in consideration before making up my mind about something, before going in blindly into something. When I was young, I was taught that homosexuality is bad. Absolutely. And when I got older, when I studied zoology and animal physiology at university, I realized, but there's animals with homosexual tendencies. And if there's animals, it must be a natural thing. And during that course of my studies, I totally changed my mind about it. Absolutely. I will not frown on somebody who's homosexual. But when I was young, I did think so. So I did not have the necessary information. I'm not sure what the intention is of that Facebook group, the No Clone Zone. I'm sure their intentions are good. I'm sure. My problem is, as I said, please do not look down on people who still buy clones. I don't think that is going to be right. But the idea of stopping cloning is not a bad idea. But there are certain situations where you just got to rethink. So do me a favor, in the comments, please, just in the comments, add your thoughts. Add your thoughts. You might bring up something which I did not think of. You might bring up something which totally changed my mind, and which would prevent me from even not buying a clone, even as a benchmark, to buy an original or authentic atomizer. This is Kaiser signing over now. Cheers.